So I think there is an increasing problem on the right and in society at large where masculinity itself is becoming increasingly pleb-coded. And I've noticed it everywhere. I think what this largely is the inevitable consequence of men being pushed out of various institutions and occupations. Like increasingly, for instance, higher education is overwhelmingly female. Women outnumber men at like they will form 60-70% or higher of the student body in many different Western countries. I'll link to statistics on this, but like universities are overwhelmingly female dominated. And not only that, but especially the arts and social sciences, which are the disciplines where culture is formed. Like a lot of people on the right, they think everything is about trades, everything is about STEM. No, it is also about culture. Culture is very important, and men are increasingly both being pushed out of culture and opting out of it. And we can see this also with reading. Like women read more than men, a lot more. And again, I'll provide links to statistics on this, but it's not like people say, well, it's just fiction. No, actually, okay. Women read more fiction than nonfiction, whereas men tend to read more nonfiction than fiction. But women still do read more nonfiction than men. Women just read more overall. A lot of men just simply aren't reading at all. They're not, and when I say reading, they're not looking at paper books. They're not looking at ebooks. They're not listening to audiobooks. They're not reading in any way, shape, or form, except for reading Twitter posts, basically. Like reading stuff online, like reading social media posts. That's basically the only reading that a lot of men are doing these days. Now, this can be seen with other things too. Like, for instance, travel. Women are traveling more than men on average by a significant margin. And even when it comes to restaurants, like statistics show men prefer fast food, whereas women tend to prefer like actual cuisine, basically. Like restaurants that serve anything above the level of fast food tend to be more preferred by women, whereas men tend to prefer lowest common denominator fast food slop. We can also see this by the fact that the cities, like especially the larger cities that tend to be hubs of culture, are overwhelmingly dominated by women. They have a disproportionately female population, like cities like, say, New York City, Toronto, Montreal, Washington, D.C. Cities of that nature are overwhelmingly female dominated, or like Paris, for instance, or London. Like cities of that nature are overwhelmingly female dominated. The places that are the hubs of culture, where the museums, the historic architecture, a lot of the, say, like the music scenes, like symphony halls, opera, like, and also contemporary music, like where all these, like essentially the places where culture originates from. These places are overwhelmingly dominated by women. And again, I'm not trying to say all these things are inherently intellectual. Like there's plenty of shit, like there's plenty of slop literature. There's plenty of shit, like like traveling inherently does not inherently make you wise. Like you could travel to places like Las Vegas or all-inclusive resorts and just lie on a beach or gamble away your money or do a bunch of dumb low IQ shit. But I'm saying that like these things are not inherently intellectual or cultured, but it's hard to be intellectual or cultured if you shy away from these things entirely, which is what men are increasingly doing. They're shying away from reading, from traveling, from living in cities that are cultural hubs, or just big cities altogether. They're shying away from academia. They're shying away from independent restaurants and embracing fast food slop. Like masculinity in general is becoming pleb coded. And we see this with like the kinds of things that are upheld as like the big things for men. It's like it's all about like alcohol, video games, fucking Big Macs. There's also a lot of like emphasis on like porn, like being into like porn and shit like that. Just watching porn all the time. Like it's just a lot of and stuff that like and there's some stuff that's like not necessarily inherently bad, but at the same time not overly intellectual either. Like say this obsession with like guns and um or stuff like fishing for instance, like it's not inherently bad per se, like it's good to get outdoors, but at the same time it's like I don't know, I increasingly feel like everything that is intellectual or even pseudo intellectual is becoming dominated by women, and it's actually reducing the quality of many of these things. It would be better if we went back to the days where men had a bigger presence in these fields. But the problem is men don't seem to want it. Men seem to want to like play video games all the time and drink alcohol and smoke weed and eat McDonald's. That's basically what it seems like men these days want to do. Like you have either like your homebody man cave type men or your rural redneck type men. Like those seem to be like the main archetypes for men to follow nowadays, and neither of those is particularly intellectual nor particularly influential on society. And again, this is all by design. Like it is obvious that a combination of left liberal and feminist um, groups and individuals deliberately coalesced together to make this happen. Like they wanted to push men out of the institutions, out of the popular culture, out of the high culture, out of the places that influence real culture and real power. Like the only thing, like men do seem to be still represented in institutions of financial power, but not cultural power. Like there's a lot of men in like Wall Street and like crypto bros or whatever, but in terms of cultural power, men are severely sinking in that regard and essentially handing it over to women. And the problem is, like, I think men were actually better at it than women. Like, I think men actually created a lot of the best culture. I'm not saying no women have created great culture, but I'm saying disproportionately men have created the best culture, but now they're shying away from it. And frankly, I do think this is partly men's own fault. Like, there's a certain point where you have to start blaming the victim. There's a certain point where you have to tell the Germans, stop hating yourselves so much. There's a certain point where you have to tell the drug addict, hey, maybe get off the fucking drugs. There's a certain point where you have to tell men, stop being such fucking plebs. Like, yes, they've been pushed into this position, but at the same time, it's like they're kind of digging their own grave further because a lot of men just embrace this identity so much. And I've seen them do it. Like I saw a guy on Twitter argue that reading fiction is for women. And if you read any fiction at all, that's not masculine. Even if it's like 1984, even if it's like Lord of the Rings, it's like, no, or Don Quixote or what have you. It's like, no, you just can't read fiction if you're a man. Not even like the Odyssey or the Iliad. No, you can't read fiction. That's for women. It's like, okay, men are becoming stupid. Men are becoming stupid. And it is a self-reinforcing cycle of stupidity. And I see it all the time. And women may have, like feminists may have started this by consciously pushing us out of the institutions. Not just like feminists, but like more broadly speaking, leftists and liberals in general who have pursued this broader agenda against whites, men, heterosexuals, etc. But nonetheless, okay, even if they were the ones who started this, I think men can be blamed for not doing more to fight back and for actively embracing it. Like I see many men out there And this stupid like, oh, like hit a big brain with a rock. Like all these stupid memes that I see right wingers promoting that are promoting this mentality. And even to some extent the fucking virgin versus Chad memes. It's like, sure, these memes are funny, but if you take them too seriously, like unironically, a lot of these memes do actually advocate being like a low IQ, anti-intellectual moron. Like, I'm sorry, it's true. There's way too much of a culture of anti-intellectualism on the right. Like, we have to constantly pander to Joe the plumber, and we have to uphold him as this ideal for everyone else to follow, even at the expense of like lacking any sense of culture, any sense of intellectualism. And I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal here as if I am some sort of like high cultured intellectual. Like I have some appreciation of certain aspects of high culture. Yes, I have some exposure to it. I do have a higher than average IQ. Yes. I mean, I was in the gifted program as a kid. Am I a genius? No, I am not a genius. I am not at the same level as someone like Leonardo da Vinci. And I'm not even at the same level as someone like, say, James Howard Kunstler or Leon Creer. Like, I don't pretend that I am. I don't pretend that I am some sort of paragon. More of a renegade than a paragon, really. But my point is, like, we do need to we do need to aspire for more. Even if I'm not perfect, at least I acknowledge this problem. At least I acknowledge the fact that it is an issue that we face as men and that we need to be doing better in this regard. I'm not simply wallowing in shit like I see so many men doing. Like, the sheer amount of fucking video games that so many of these guys play, it's like, okay, some video games, I'm not saying video games can't be high art, but I'm saying if you spend that much time on video games, it's like the number of video games that are truly high art is small enough that, like, okay, if you're spending that much time on video games, I guarantee you're spending a lot of time on stuff that is essentially mindless junk. Like, there's a few video games I'd say are high art, but not that many. Like, as a whole, I would say video games are less high art than, like, other mediums, like, say, books, movies, or TV. Like, yeah, there's exceptions. Like, a lot of the Rockstar games are pretty good in terms of, like, plot and dialogue, at least sometimes. Are they on the same level as something like The Sopranos or Breaking Bad? No, they're not. But they're still... Well, I haven't played Red Dead 2, though, so I can't comment on that one. But the others, I'd say they're on a pretty high level for a video game in that regard, but not quite at the level of like The Wire or The Sopranos or Breaking Bad or what have you. But what I'm trying to say is this, okay, like a lot of men spend way too much time on video games in particular. They don't even read at all. Like, the statistics are shameful, frankly, on like men and reading. It's really bad. Like, women read a lot more than men, and even if a lot of what they read is crap, they're still at least reading. And I think it's shameful that men are hardly reading at all, like, from what I'm seeing. Like, it's really bad. And hardly traveling at all. Again, like, I'm not saying every woman who travels is like some deep appreciator of architecture, of historic architecture, or of natural beauty, but some of them actually are. You know what? Some of these Instagram accounts, I think some of these women actually genuinely do appreciate this shit on some level. I think it's not just about the clicks to all of them. Like, I think some of them are so obsessive and so dedicated that on some level, they genuinely do think that these places are beautiful, and they genuinely do have some appreciation for beauty. And I see a lot of men who just don't. Like, people who I see advocating on behalf of ugly modernist architecture or bland, boring suburban sprawl are overwhelmingly men. Women might be better on the architecture issue on average than men are. Same with the people supporting Trump defunding the national parks. Again, overwhelmingly men. And again, this gets into the whole separate issue separate but related, the idea, are men more based than women? I mean, I'd say yes overall, but men support Israel at higher rates than women. So there is that. And I'm just saying, like, okay, men in general, like, men in general are just embracing this chud brained, low IQ, pleb tier culture too much. Like sports ball and beer and video games. Like, I'm not saying this culture hasn't always existed, but I'm saying there was more of also a male intellectual culture. Like, as well, and now there isn't. What's happened is the intellectuals have become MCU nerds, which is like a lower form of nerd compared to like the intellectuals of yesteryear. And the sort of the nerd, the worst aspects of the nerd culture and the worst aspects of the jock culture have kind of coalesced into this pleb tier, low IQ douche bro culture of Marvel movies and sports ball and beer and video games. And like, men have to look in the mirror. There has to be some acknowledgement. Women did not hold a gun to our heads and force us to do all this shit. Like, on some level, we are responsible for this shit. Like, yes, they were the ones who created the trends that led to this. Like, they did deliberately push men out of academia and out of many white collar workplaces by making these environments extremely inhospitable to men through DEI and affirmative action, through speech codes, through all this tut-tutting and constant henpecking and speech codes and censorship. I'm not denying that fact, but I'm saying men aren't helping when we willingly embrace this, when we lie down and accept it and shovel the slop, figurative and literal, into our mouths. We're not fucking helping. And yeah, I get it why men feel like giving up, but if you're going to give up in style, you know? Like, devote your life to, like, reading great literature, or, I don't know, like, being some kind of, like, bohemian or whatever. Don't be, like, some loser who just plays video games and drinks beer in his fucking man cave. Like, be a higher caliber of loser. If you really feel like you've given up, then give up in style. That's what I'm saying. But ideally, don't give up. Ideally, don't give up. And again, I will link to the statistics. I'll link to articles backing up everything that I'm saying. I'm not just talking out of my ass here. There's statistical proof of all of this. Or at least evidence. Because I know people will say, well, you can find multiple studies that contradict each other. Yeah, fair enough. You probably could. Like, people probably could find other studies that contradict what I'm saying, as with any issue. Maybe not. I don't know. But my point is, okay, look around you too. Like, look around you. Look at the things that men are saying on the internet. Look at the things they believe in. Also, look at how, like, women outnumber men in some, like, in universities, in cities, especially like large influential cities. Places like Paris or Toronto or New York. Just look at how women outnumber men, and how women are essentially supplanting men in these places, and how men are just kind of accepting it and embracing it. And it reminds me a bit of that quote. I can't remember the exact quote. Like, it was by one of these ancient philosophers. I cannot remember, was he Greek or Roman, but he said, like, a society that separates its warriors and scholars will have its fighting done by fools and its thinking done by weaklings. Something like that. But yeah, it's a famous quote, and I think that's increasing. Although what's happening now is that men are becoming the worst of both worlds. They're becoming weaklings and fools at the same time, but they're especially becoming fools. Some of them might be strong fools, but a lot of them are both weaklings and fools. But yeah, I mean, increasingly that is the problem, that men are just becoming idiots. And we need to talk about this problem. We need to talk about it honestly and openly, and we can't just pretend that it's not a real issue. And we also shouldn't be like promoting it and acting like this is a good thing. It's like, oh, we're returning to a salt of the earth lifestyle. It's like, no, no, no. We shouldn't become morons, okay? Like, no. We need to keep intellectualism and culture as part of masculinity. Not every man needs to be an intellectual or needs to be super cultured, but at least a certain significant portion of us should be. And we are failing in this regard. We are failing miserably, and we're handing this over to women, and women frankly don't know what to do with it. And frankly, a lot of women probably miss the presence of men in this sort of thing. So yeah, I guess that's all I gotta say about that right now.